Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. The hospital room was a world unto itself, a clean, peaceful space where time appeared to stretch and fade. The cardiac monitor's quiet beeping counted each delicate second like a far-off metronome, consistent but disturbing. The grayish walls, the clean white hospital crib sheets, and the small figure of infant Ayaan still asleep under them all seemed pallid under dim fluorescent lighting. Disinfectant smelled strongly, so sharp and clinical it appeared to scrape against Sheeda's throat. A reminder that life continued even as hers seemed to stand still. Somewhere down the hall the faint murmur of nurses speaking in subdued tones drifted in and out of earshot. Against the expanse of the hospital bed, Ayaan appeared minuscule. His small form was draped in a blanket too big for him. From his small frame, wires slithered to link him to softly whirring, blinking machinery. Usually plump and radiant with health, his cheeks were now a sickening pink, a terrible reminder of the fever he had been suffering. With each short breath, his little lips opened slightly and sweat hung to the exquisite curls on his forehead, darkening them. Sheedah sat next to the cot. Her posture is absolutely perfect despite the tiredness trying to knock her down. Her right palm lay lightly on Ayaan's forehead, her thumb going back and forth in gentle rhythmic strokes. A quiet comfort for her young son that she was there. She would always be with us. She had not gone to sleep. Not precisely. Every time her head sank, a fresh panic shot her awake. The idea of missing a change in his breathing, of not being attentive should something go wrong, set her off. The countless what-ifs spun her brain like thorns. The delicate silence was broken by the creaking open door. Bilal entered the space. He appeared like a man breaking free from the cool, collected image the planet knew. Now unkempt was the always exacting Bilal, the man who always dressed sharply and who planned every moment of his life. His white shirt was wrinkled and bleached with the slightest traces of stress. His suit jacket vanished, a loosened tie jammed hurriedly into his pocket. The top buttons of his shirt were free at his collarbone, and the sleeves were rolled up revealing his forearms. But he was his face that betrayed him. Usually, his keen brown eyes had exuded confidence, but now something raw fear. His eyes flew straight to the hospital crib, to Ayaan's frail rise and fall in her chest. The silence of his son was quite intolerable. He quieted himself for a long moment. He simply stood there, a man stuck between the terrible knowledge he could do and his urgent need to shield his family. Sheedah nodded upward to meet his gaze. She seemed tired, but her face exuded a kind of quiet fortitude derived from necessity. Strength of a mother. Not because she felt hopeful, but rather because she knew Bilal needed it. She gave him a little weary grin. They both acted. Bilal clenched his jaw. His hands slipped into his pockets, returned, then raked through his hair, a nervous action that revealed the tempest within. This emotion was not familiar to him. He had a planner. Fixed-to. One who discovered answers before problems could have roots. But here, in this hospital room, there was nothing to fix, watching his son fight for every breath. Nothing to organize. He felt useless, and it was ripping him apart. As if the walls had moved closer, crushing the space between them, the air in the room felt thicker, heavier. After a protracted stillness, Bilal moved at last, although not with the same intent customary. His motions were slow, hesitant, as though he didn't know what to do with himself. He hovered close to the crib, his hand lingering above Ayaan's blanket, but stopping short of touching him, almost as if he was terrified his own touch would damage the infant. Then Bilal slid onto the chair next to Sheedah, as though he was giving his emotions some weight. At first he didn't say anything. He failed to. Rather, his hand gently extended and held Ayaan's little fingers. They were so little and delicate. Bilal lost control as they barely coiled around his bigger fingers. His eyes filled up right away. As if letting the tears fall would make the situation even more real, he blinked rapidly, forcefully, attempting to beat back the tears. Sheedah moved along next to him. She did not say anything. She had no need of it. Rather, she softly placed her head against his shoulder. A straightforward, silent gesture that said more than words. Said otherwise, we are in this together. You are not the only one. The room settled into a consistent rhythm. The subtle beep of the monitors, the faint whirl of equipment, the calm, shallow sound of Ayaan's breathing. It was a delicate kind of silence, one full of hope, anxiety, and the silent suffering of two parents seeing their child wage a fight too great for his small body. A gentle knock startled the silence. A nurse came in, a nice-faced woman with friendly eyes and a practiced grin. The sort of smile people wear when they have spent years consoling frightened families. her voice like that of an anchor, quiet, consistent. She said Ayaan's fever was reacting to the medicine. His small body was rebounding, and if the trend kept up, there was optimism he could be able to return home shortly. The words failed to really register for a time. Sitting transfixed, too fearful to let their guard down, Bilal and Sheedah were too depressed to hope. Then the words of the nurse sank in gradually. Ayaan was under conflict. He was getting better. As if he had been holding it in for hours, Bilal exhaled, a long, tremorous sigh. His hand discovered Sheedah's once more, his hold firm not just to soothe her but also to ground him. The room sank back into its peaceful pulse after the nurse left. Sheedah reached out once more, her fingers lightly caressing Ayaan's curls. The move was gentle and slow, a subtle pledge she would always be there to defend him, fight for him, love him. Bilal watched her, his son, his wife, his heart still weighty but it was not drowning. The terror had not left him. Most likely it never would have, but it was subdued now by optimism. Wiping rapidly at his eyes, Bilal spoke with a raw emotional quality. Sheedah's grin this time was real rather than merely a worn comfort gesture. A mother knowing her child was strong would grin. A wife knowing her family would survive this tempest. The evening dragged on, but the weight in their hearts started to lighten. For now, Ayaan lay between them, little, delicate but battling, and that was plenty. After that, they said not much. They had no need of it. Rather, they sat there, Sheedah's hand on Ayaan's forehead, Bilal's hand tightly around hers, bound by the strong, relentless love that would take them across whatever happened next. And amid the subdued bustle of the hospital room, a mother's strength and a father's anxiety found a delicate equilibrium resting in the soft, regular rise and fall of their baby's small chest. This gossip is over. If you liked the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.